Hey, good morning, my YouTube family. I am on my home time, so it feels good when you're off the truck. It feels like you're back to reality, right? But I be missing the truck when I'm home too long. But anyways, I'm off for 2.5 days. No, actually it's 2 days now. Yesterday, I spent the whole day driving back into town on that truck, so I didn't even really get to enjoy my Friday. I literally went to sleep soon as I got back to the terminal. But that's neither here nor there. Hope everybody's having a good day. I will be chewing a little bit throughout this video because I just bought me a muffin. I bought a breakfast sandwich, but I already ate it. I didn't want to be doing too much on the camera. And I'm about to go to the hair store, and then I'm going to get these fingertips done. I end up cutting all my nails short to start from fresh, do a fresh acrylic set, and back in business. Anyways, life has a way of like revealing things to you, as I'm learning. I'm also adding my whole life experience into the stuff that I learned. So I was having a beautiful conversation with my youngest daughter last night. She's 19, as some of you guys know, and damn, Atlanta be lit with the popo. They always chasing somebody. So she was telling me about her so-called guy problems. She's kind of new on the dating scene, but the stuff she was telling me, oh my gosh, this is why you really got to know your kids. Nothing bad, but she's matured so much, way faster than I guess she's my baby. Out of the 3 kids, she's my baby. So the reality hit me last night about a lot of things. I'm like, how did I not see this? So she's telling me her 5-year plan. We were talking about like, where does she see like her love life and stuff like that, right? Hold on, y'all. Just give me 1 second. All right, just got to get myself together. Let me back off the camera a little bit. All right, so she was telling me about her love life and things that she was looking forward to as far as what is her 5-year goal. So we just chit-chatting, right? We haven't chit-chatted in a while since I've been back on the truck. So most of our conversations has been kind of like just domestic duties and things like that as a younger girl. But as she's talking to me, the reality hits that she's becoming a woman. So she's telling me like her 5-year plan, how she looks at relationships. She's like, I just want to remain untouched. You guys don't know what I mean, right? She just wants to remain untouched until she finds the one. So I was just giving her the reality of what it is to actually date versus what she's thinking about. I said, just make sure you understand that where the guy is coming from, he has to understand where you're coming from and be on the same page. So if you're on the 3rd date and he's already asking you for, basically the guy wants to be her boyfriend. He's already asking to be her boyfriend. I said, just monitor it in doses, because he may be moving at a pace that you're not ready for. I mean, he's not as experienced either. They're both a little bit young. They're both a little bit inexperienced. But it seems like he's taking a liking to her. And I don't want to tell all her business. But anyways, to make a long story short, she's wanting to have a family by 25. She said she doesn't want to have like a family way into her 30s. She said she wants to enjoy her life, get kids out the way. I'm like, what? I thought she was going to be like the way she is. She's so... It's hard to describe her personality, but she's a Taurus, and she always seems so like into her material stuff, because Taurus people, they love their stuff. She don't like nobody touching her stuff. You better ask permission before you even look at one of her makeups. So I didn't really see her as like wanting to be a mother anytime soon. So all these revelations, she's like, I want to be married by at least 24, 23, 24. I'm like, girl, you only 19. She's like, yeah, but as long as I start my career. So she wants to work as an esthetician, right? And possibly if she decides, she said she may go back to school for her medical degree in dermatology, because she's like obsessed with skincare. This girl has been obsessed with skincare since she was 14. She had really bad acne, and she went and figured out products on her own. I used to see her reading all the time, late at night, just reading ingredients. Like, she could break down ingredients. She could look at your makeup and tell you if it's good for your skin. So she's really about her craft. And when she explains things to you, you understand it. She's not going to be all like philosophical with it. So I didn't really look at her as wanting kids right away, because she seems like she can't stand kids. She don't really like when my granddaughter bothers her. My granddaughter is just turned 12, but when my granddaughter was like 9, I always remember her like, get out my room, you know. So I say this to say, we were talking and she was just telling me about her experience as a child growing up with me and how my mothering skills was. And she was like, you know, Ma, you always was trying to be the mediator in the family, and it affected her negatively. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all, is it affected her negatively growing up in an environment where her mom is always the aggressor. I'm always loud, trying to get people to stop like me trying to get people to stop doing what they were doing in my family, the dysfunctional manipulators, the toxicity, the narcissism. I became what I didn't want to be around. So I had to like manipulate situations to get people to stop arguing. I was constantly like on the aggressive. It was like, she was like, Mommy, I grew up in a situation where everybody was always arguing. It was always volatility. And it made me, she said she's going to talk about it on Sunday. I told her this would be a great topic to address, because we're going to be talking about abuse, motherhood, family dynamics, and things like that. So she was saying how, I don't want to misquote her, but she was saying how, it desensitized her to her own emotions. So throughout her years, she was always kind of like more superficial. You would only see, I call her Lily, you only see her like mostly acting laughing or silly. But when it came to like emotions of the heart, she was very withdrawn. So I was like, you know, is that one of the reasons why you were like that growing up? She said, yes. She said, because when you're around people that are super hyper emotional, which is, you know, me interacting with other people that are like hyper emotional, because, you know, arguing and fussing, and she said it makes you it kind of confuses your own reality on your own emotions. You don't know what emotions is considered normal, what's considered abnormal. So she said she just didn't deal with them, and she's now coming to grips. And even though she's 19, she met a boy at, I think when she was 16 or 17 in high school. She was homeschooled, so that she said that was another reason why she had social anxiety. She wasn't homeschooled her whole life. She was homeschooled after around middle school, right after I forget the grades. I think it was right after 6th grade I took her out of the school system. And I made a video on why I decided to homeschool my last 2 kids. But it did cause social anxiety in the both of them. They're kind of withdrawn, or like when you first meet them, they're not like super open. In a way, it's good because it protected her from boys. But she was like, as soon as she went back into the school system, a boy was attracted to her. So it's like, you can't hide your beautiful daughters. It's just what it is. But luckily, it was a decent kid. The 2 guys that were attracted to her that she's met since she's been between 16 and 19 has been decent boys. It hasn't been no, you know, player from the Himalaya, right? So she said that kind of helped her come to grips with some of her emotions. But I noticed when the first boy kind of hurt her feelings because he wasn't consistent, instead of her talking about it, because I would ask her, hey, where's such and such? And she would just be like, I don't know, he didn't call me today. It was never like, Ma, let me tell you what happened. So she's coming to grips now as she's getting older with expressing herself in that intimate manner. So we had a great conversation last night, almost like an hour and a half. And she's just like, the floodgates of emotions is open. I'm like, okay, this is a new side to my little Lily. But it was a beautiful thing. So I'm saying that part of getting to know your kids is allowing them to be in the reality of your world as well as their own world. Because when you start to manipulate your children, it causes what's called ego dysfunction. Your ego keeps you balanced between the super ego and the impulse, which is the id. Your impulses are your survival instincts, meaning like you gotta eat, you gotta defecate, you gotta, like if you get angry, your immediate emotions is to lash out and maybe smack somebody. That's your impulse, your id. This thing called superego is what's going to make you overreact. Like you can become fanatical in your viewpoints. You just extreme. You see what I'm saying? Like those people that join cults and stuff, they usually tapping into that superego. Then you have the ego. When you start having manipulative people in your life, I don't care who it is, a narcissist, a crazy boss, a husband that's like really controlling. If you don't check your own ego, you cannot let people get into your brain and check your ego for you. You have to be in awareness of your own ego. Once you start to have ego dysfunction, and I learned this from watching Dr. Vaknin. I read my psychology books, but a lot of what he talks about, it really pinpoints the human behavior in real time, right? And hold on. Coffee makes me feel like life is worth living, child. You don't understand, okay? Coffee is like my crack. I'm sorry. Don't try to come with your little nutritionist stuff. Coffee has been my friend for life, okay? But anyways, when you have ego dysfunction, like you have reality testing, when you're around manipulative people, they test your reality. They will test it, but you don't know it's being tested. But how you could start realizing if your reality is being tested is you find that you become too argumentative. If you're arguing constantly, is because you don't have your own, I would say your own ideal of what your reality is. So now you need to validate it by arguing. So you're sitting up, like for example, you ever watch those podcasts and they both saying points of views, but one person doesn't agree with the other person's point of view. So the one of the people get so upset. I mean, so upset that they're just like literally stopping the show until everybody validates their point. The reason why, this not in all cases, but a lot of times the reason why they feel the need to be super persuasive in getting their point across is because they themselves don't believe it. Because if you believe something, right? Let's say somebody gave you all the answers to a test, and right before you take the test, people start spewing out, or not right before you take the test, let's say after you take the test, the people that don't know the answers, they're in a state of maybe not. Did I get that one right? Maybe not. They start second guessing themselves. Before the teacher starts to announce the answer, you already have this level of confidence because you have the actual answers. So you don't have to now overthink about it, overly prove yourself. You don't have to do what's called reality testing. The people that are not too sure, they start doing what's called reality testing. Same thing in high school. You want to be the cool kid. When I say the cool kid, you don't really want to be the cool kid, but you don't want to be the outsider kid, right? So you as the kid, you start testing your reality by who's talking to me. The cool kids talk to me, that means I must be cool. That's your own reality testing. Let me make sure this motherfucker don't hit me. Okay. So you got to get to that point where you already have the answers. This is kind of like how narcissist people think, but they're on the super ego side. So they themselves are doing their own reality testing through your reactions. Does that make sense? You're on the side of confusion and delusion and just not being aware, right? So somebody just need to wake you up, like, hey, wake up, this is how you need to be thinking. The person that's the narcissist or the manipulator, they've already convinced themselves in a delusional way that they have the answers, but when they're around people that is assured of themselves, they're going to do what's called fucking with your reality testing. They're going to fuck with your ego functions. That's how they test their own reality. So the more you come out of pocket, the more you doubt yourself, the more you start overreacting, arguing with them, you've now confirmed their reality testing that they're important and you're not. So when my daughter's telling me last night on the phone how she felt when she was being raised with a bunch of people that just all over the place, dysfunctional, because I was part of that team. I'm not going to act like I was better than my family members. However, the reason why I was getting sucked in is because I myself was having ego dysfunction based off of the manipulation of my mother, based off of the manipulation of her flying monkeys. So if they're sending in the ammunition to come after me, to target, so another thing that they tend to do is they'll target their victims to break your ego and have you have ego dysfunctions, where you start testing reality, like, is this really true? Do they really, like when they say you don't know anything, or you're stupid, or you'll never be nothing, you start testing that reality, like, did they have a point when they said that? Am I really this type of way? Am I really stupid? You know what I'm saying? You can't let manipulative people get into your mind. And if your ego is not super strong, you have to be aware, okay, if you know your ego is not super strong, right? Because sometimes you have to help your ego. You have to build that ego. You have to stay away from letting manipulative people come into your brain. So when you start seeing they start having little manipulative tactics, when they start talking to you or however they start dealing with you, you have to find a way to separate yourself from it. If you're hanging out with a group of guys or a group of girls and you see that they're constantly ego testing each other, you know, pulling out these daggers to make a person feel insecure. If you know you're the type of person that gets sucked into that whole reality testing, you got to get away from those type of people. And when I was young, getting into that type of situation with my family, the reason why I had issues with my own reality testing is because I was outnumbered. So a lot of times when the flying monkeys come into play, they usually come like a pack of hyenas, right? They're coming from all angles, because they'll find flying monkeys from all angles. These manipulators, right? They want the flying monkeys to overpower your mentality, and they start testing your ego functions. So if you got like 5 people around you telling you you're wrong, you're not the victim, you're lying, stop spreading lies, stop spreading rumors, go sit down, be quiet, right? After a while, you start saying, it's not just about trying to go along to get along. You actually start to doubt your own truth, because it's like that saying that says majority overrules. They did a test. I was reading in my psychology book, right? I forgot the name of the experiment. I'm so sorry. I'm just all over the place because I got my trucking career that I'm dealing with. And this is why next year when I graduate and I'm all about psychology, you'll see a more honed in, where I'll be bringing, you know, footnotes and statistics. Right now, me and you, we just talking. We just having conversations. But I'm also bringing y'all information, right? They did a study on a group of people. 1 second. And the study where they made the people feel like, how you say, they gave them the right answers, right? And then the people that was part of the experiment, they came and said, these are not the right answers. So let's say I told you what's 1 + 1 or what's 2 + 2, and you know it's 4. So I tell you, I need you to write down your answers, and it's like 5 people in the study. Let's say it's 5 people that's being tested and 3 more people that is part of the experiment, but they know that it's an experiment, right? So this case study is, I tell you what's 2 + 2, and you know it's 4. So you write down 4 on the paper. The 5 people that are unaware, they write down 4. Let's say I bring, not 3 people, let's say I bring 10 more people in the room. They know that it's an experiment, but they're not going to tell the 5 people that it's an experiment, because you got to remember, it's a case study. So the 10 people come in the room, they tell them, hey, I need y'all to write the answer. So let's say they tell people, I need y'all to raise your hand and tell me what y'all got. Let's say they call on the 10 people first. Those 10 people agree that it's 2 + 2 is 5. The studies show that the 5 people that knew the right answer actually some of them didn't even speak. And then some of them actually changed their mind and said it's possibly 5, knowing that it's not 5. Now, it wasn't this simple 2 plus 2. It was, I forgot what the study was, but it was based off of them answering particular questions, and they knew that they were right. But based off of the majority saying a different answer, they noticed that the 5 people that actually knew the answer hesitated to tell their answer. And that is called the influence, right? The majority of influences changes people's minds, people's thoughts. That is a form of reality testing. They now have reality change your whole reality into, well, what is the actual truth and what is not the truth? This is what you got to understand when you're dealing with people. Some of them are better than others at manipulating and testing your reality. I mean, they'll have you test your own reality. That's what I mean to say. Some people purposely do it. Some people don't realize that they're doing it. For example, if a female, this man, he's been trying to holler at her for a long time. He finally gets her attention. They start dating. And next thing you know, he's thinking she's a good woman or something like that. But she starts doing little manipulative tricks to make him feel like he's doing something wrong. He could be just going to work, doing his everyday work, coming home, treating her decent. But she'll find little manipulative tricks to make him feel like you're a bad person. But the fact that he likes her so much, he starts to do his own reality testing and saying, is she right? Am I a bad guy? Am I doing something wrong? For example, you know how you have those controlling men? And let's say you a pretty girl, you go out and you get attention, and this guy you're with, he's acting a whole ass, right? But the fact that he doesn't want you to know it's his insecurity, because let's say you're not doing anything wrong. You just being your regular self. You go out and you just being your regular self. But he may have some insecurities. Next thing you know, he starts having you testing your own reality by saying, I saw you look at that guy. I saw you smile at him. You want to give him your number, don't you? You want him, don't you? And it goes both ways, because I've seen women do it to men too, where the guy could just be doing him. Now, you got some guys that are assholes, and they will try to test your reality by looking at another female, flirting with her in front of you, and then when you ask him about it, he's acting like, huh? What? You see that? Girl, you bugging. Girl, you paranoid. It depends. People play games. You got to know for like a preponderance of your own evidence. You know what you know, and this is what it is. Now, if you know you got some insecurities and you're not sure, then you may need more evidence. But I'm talking about when the evidence is very clear that this person is manipulating you, whether it's a narcissistic parent, a narcissistic spouse, a manipulative abuser, a controlling person. You got to get to the point where you do not allow people to mind fuck you. Because what's going to happen is it starts to mess with your ego. Next thing you know, your ego is off balance. Your ego is what keeps you grounded. You need your ego to survive, right? Narcissist people don't have an ego. As much as people say, oh, narcissist people, they got so much ego. What narcissist people have is a false self. It is devoid of an ego. The ego is what keeps you checked and what keeps you balanced. But a narcissistic person doesn't have an ego. Do you understand? Their ego was destroyed when they were stuck in that and the age of their trauma. So if their age of trauma was at 5, that's where their ego was left, at the door. When a person doesn't have an ego, this is why a narcissist person is able to do all those insane things and they don't feel no sense of remorse or empathy, because their ego is not functioning, is not keeping them balanced. You see what I'm saying? So they use their false self to keep them balanced, and the false self, they use it and they mirror other people to understand. It's kind of like a robot training. So they're constantly training and putting into that robot new programs, upgrading, downgrading when necessary. So if they got to upgrade according to what's going on, oh, I need to be more like this, okay, let's put a new program into the false self. So the false self is constantly changing, but it's not evolving into a better person. You see what I'm saying? Because the false self sees anything of good as a threat. So it's going to always remain in a negative mentality. It's always going to look at you as the problem. You're, no matter where what type of energy you're coming from, that false self that they created is going to look at you as a threat. So you're never really going to be fully capable of winning over a narcissist. They're always going to have that guard up, like, nah, I don't trust you, right? But that's not really here or there. That's not your problem. But when I was talking to my daughter last night, I realized she kind of reminded me of why I was constantly arguing with these people, trying to prove myself, trying to get them to understand, hey, this is not right. When your instinct is telling you things are not right, and then you got a bunch of people that still operating, hold on. You got a bunch of people still operating like it's normal stuff that's happening, right? Because they've normalized and gotten numb to the trauma and the abuse that goes on in households. So if you're still trying to figure out, well, why is this happening? Why is everybody acting like this? And then you try to like fix it, but you don't have the right equipment and stuff like that, it could make you lose your mind. And this is why when people get stuck in these weird toxic relationships, it does changes you, because you start doing a lot of reality testing as to, well, what's normal anymore? And then you might look at yourself years ago and you'd be like, I don't remember me being like this. I don't remember me always having attitude. I don't remember me constantly being angry. I used to be a happy person. What happened is you've lost your own reality testing. Now you've become what you don't like. Hold on. Oh, this feels so good. This is what happens with cult followers too. They go into this whole domicile in their brain where they lose their own reality and they become the brain of the cult leader, right? Even in office settings where they have groupthink, where you know it's wrong for this person to get picked on, but you'll watch a bunch of people pick on this person, and then one day you might say something like, hey, that's not right what you guys are doing, and they make you feel like you're the one that's going crazy for actually standing up for what's right. So now every day you coming in to work trying to have like a normal day, and these people just won't let you have a normal day. Then you start saying to yourself, well, am I the weird oddball? Should I be the one a little bit? Should I just loosen up? Maybe just let them crack a joke or two on that person? Next thing you know, you start finding the jokes funny. Next thing you know, you might say a thing or two about the person. Next thing you know, the person might annoy you one day and you start saying, I see why they pick on your dumb ass. You become that shit because you didn't stop it and you didn't go with what you knew was real from the jump. And you didn't stick to that. You continue to let these people change your mind, change your reality. I remember when I was taken out of the home. I was taken out of the home, I don't remember the exact age, but I think I was between 11, and I stayed in a group home for 2 years. They split all 7 of us up. It was 7 kids at the time. And my dad used to beat us so bad, and my mom would hold us down while he would beat the flesh off of us. Like the skin would open up, like stitches level. And it could be for any little thing. So she knew this man was a crackhead, but she didn't never protect us. You see what I'm saying? She actually would laugh at the beatings, or she would kind of promote him to beat us. She'd be like, you see what they doing? You know what you got to do. So it's like she kind of trained him to be abusive, with like more abusive. So they took us out of the home finally because me and my sister reported the abuse. And when I went into the group home, I didn't really know, like, I knew boys and girls dated, but I was a late bloomer, right? So I wasn't thinking about that. I just came out of an abuse home. So I'm just trying to figure out like what's happening. I'm not around my brothers and sisters anymore. I'm just in a dorm with a bunch of girls, right? So I'm just like in my own world. I remember the girls were dating guys. And there was this one guy named Nalone. And he was very handsome. He kind of had resembled, from what I remember as a kid, he looked like Nelly, the rapper Nelly, in the face. And this one girl, she was really pretty too. I would say she probably would look like maybe an Ashanti. And I remember she was crying, screaming, bawling, like somebody did some ungodly stuff to her. And I go into the dorm, it was like 10 of us in this huge room, and kind of like how they do in boot camp. And I asked one of the girls, I was like, why is she crying? And they was like, that guy, he dumped her. And I was like, what guy? And it was like, he's one of the cutest guys on the campus, and you know, that's supposed to be her boyfriend, and I'm hearing he took her virginity, and now she's crying. And I was like, her virginity, crying? But they didn't say virginity, they was like, he popped her cherry. So I had never heard that term. I was like, he popped her cherry? Well, why did she have cherries? That was a dating thing? And the girls are looking at me like, girl, you don't know what a fucking cherry is? So I'm like, so I didn't really ask no more questions. I just waited till I found out through the grapevine, what is popping a cherry mean? So anyways, I would say fast forward a couple months later. I don't remember how long it was. Mind you, the guy that dumped her, I didn't know who he was. They just said some guy named Malone, and I don't even remember if I knew his name. All I know, I was walking to the lunchroom one day, and this handsome guy, he was like, hey, what's your name, cutie pie? And I was just like, hey, what's up? I wasn't into boys, but I just do notice if somebody looks nice looking. I didn't know the guy that asked me my name at that time was the guy, Malone. So he was like, hey, what's your name or whatever. So then I found out maybe a week later, I forgot how he told me. I think somebody came and was like, this guy, he keeps talking about you. He wants to meet you, da 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 da. And I'm like, me? Why? I didn't think I was cute. I just thought I don't know. I didn't really look at my looks back then. My father never told me. My mother never told me I was good looking. So I just knew I had style. I was able to like figure out how to fix my style back then. So I don't know how I ended up talking to him. We started talking on a regular basis. He was nice to me. I never saw no problem with him. The girl that he ended up breaking her heart, she ended up getting transferred. I don't know where she went. I just know I never seen her again after like a week or two. Because that's how it was in the group home. You get placed or you go back home or whatever. Come to find out, I didn't know he was the guy until maybe weeks later. So I asked him about it. I said, I remember this girl, she was crying. And he was just like, oh, she was crazy or something like that. Just kind of matter-of-factly. So then I remember he would play New Edition, all these songs. And he would tell me to come to like his dorm, but not in the room because the girls wasn't allowed in the room. So I remember we would be in the hallway just listening to radio, and he would play tapes, but he always played these slow songs. And I remember he would play like New Edition. Can you stand the rain? You remember Johnny Gill was my favorite, and Ralph Tresvant. Those are my two favorite singers of the New Edition group.